Good late morning to everyone. Welcome. So yesterday, as I was sitting in the crowd, I had a sort of a nice moment as Dairy Queen handed out all the dilly bars, and it sort of brought back this memory. How many of you actually attended the conference last year in New Orleans? All right, so about half. So you'll remember that last year I had a client with me from Church and Dwight, and we reenacted the Trojan pleasure cart and gave away 400 vibrators. And my thought as it was imparted yesterday that the dilly bars were low fat, I couldn't help but think, the Trojan vibes, 0 calories, and they put a smile on your face every day. So anyway, I'm here to talk about the 4A's initiative for Addressable. And, as you can see on the screen, you see a TV screen and you actually see a tablet device. And I think one of the things that we're going to be wrestling with over the next year is how these two elements really come together. So I think in a lot of respects, the online world is well developed, and there's a lot of things that we can learn and document as best practice in terms of addressable, known as sort of audience buying to most in the online world. But there's a big challenge in terms of actually making addressable TV really functional on a large scale level in a way that advertisers and agencies can actually take full advantage of it. So what I'd like to do is sort of frame up that discussion by going through a few things. First, addressable television is sort of a very sort of deep and complicated area to deal with. There are several ways in which you can access that world. There are ways that you can look at demographic data. There's ways to combine purchase or customer data to actually understand which are the characteristics of the households that you're most interested in and would like to target, that you can actually do a bunch of work and get down to brass tacks. Right now, the addressable world stands at about 41 million households. About a year ago, it was only 20 million households. We hope by the end of 2014, we're talking about 60 million households. And now it really becomes a function of how do we get up the curve, understand what it is that we can actually achieve, what value it has going forward. So just I wrote down a couple of notes in terms of some of the key issues that we need to wrestle with. So delivery systems, right? So right now, one of the complications in executing addressable is, you kind of have to go to each of the MSOs or delivery platforms one by one and sort of amass a schedule. At some point, and you'll hear this in a video I'm about to show shortly, we should be thinking about ways that we can create platforms that create a unified platform for buyers and agencies to sort of understand what is available from an addressable standpoint across all of those systems. There's the issue of, do we deliver it in linear program? Do we use VOD? VOD is today much simpler, but I think there's a huge opportunity for linear going forward. There's a lot to sort of understand in terms of targeting and timing. If you can go into the cable systems and see demographic data, that's really easy. If you want to use behavioral or purchase data, that becomes an exercise where you need to have a third party combine data sets so that you can understand which households exactly you want to target. There's the issue of collaboration. Can we bring all of these systems together so that it's more elegant, easier for us to execute? There's also the issue of how much customization versus what we know will come up in the future as programmatic. And so once measurement systems improve, we will have insight in terms of household and online characteristics, and we'll be able to have better control over campaigns, and we can sort of hit consumers from both ends. And then, of course, as referenced earlier in a session, the issue of just plain measurement and knowing the value of what you're getting is going to be critically important. But don't take it from me. Let's take a look at what some of the industry experts say about the area.
So what we're seeing from the demand side is that they love television because it is such a phenomenal medium. Yet they want all the wonderful things they've gotten from the digital internet media world. So brands from the buy side and the agency holding companies are really interested in how they can take television and leverage television-based creative with the power and flexibility of internet digital media. And they're looking for the ability to plan across both seamlessly. That's what they're asking us for.
So addressable is you're just buying exactly the target, you're not buying any of the waste, and you have an incredible amount of control over the impressions that you're delivering. You can set the pacing, you can decide what kind of cap to have, that's a reach and frequency cap. So there's definitely a different way of buying.
We found some really interesting things. I think one is that overwhelmingly both agencies, advertisers, and media companies all felt within the next 3 years we'll see a convergence between TV and online video, which is pretty fascinating. And all to the tune of, north of 65-ish%. So I think that was great. The other thing that they felt is that that convergence is going to require some level of automation. And so the term programmatic is thrown out a lot, but programmatic I think meant in the term of automation versus associating it with a type of media buying, whether that's RTB exchange or upfront purchases.
From an addressable point of view, what everyone has been waiting for is the MVPDs, the multi-video production distributors, to actually have the physical plant infrastructure in place to deliver addressability. It's one thing to be able to know what is the right ad to show. It's another thing to be able to deliver the right ad. And for the most part, they've never had the mechanisms to show individual ads to individual set-top boxes or homes. And that technology infrastructure through a variety of companies, many whom you know, Andy, like Visible World and NVIDIA and Black Arrow, and I'm sure there are many others out there as well, that technology deployment has actually gotten to scale now. And what happens with that technology deployment at scale is that the national advertiser can say, wow, I need to sell shampoo, I need to reach millions of homes, I can now addressably reach millions of homes and individuals in those homes that match my target demography. And because of that technology deployment, we feel that that's the inflection point in 2014 that we're going to witness, with demand now saying it's not only a desire, but it's a reality.
How do we think about the data in a way that can essentially elevate and make more effective and more efficient your own marketing efforts? Beginning in November of 2012 through March of 2013, Cablevision embarked on a new strategy, which was to begin to aggregate set-top box data from all 7 million boxes. The implications of this for marketers are that television tuning behavior is not dissimilar in some ways. There are strong leitmotifs between television tuning behavior and internet behavior. And what I mean by that is there are long tails, there are communities, there are verticals of interest, and you'll see some of those in just a minute. That the television can be a highly targeted medium. It doesn't have to be broadcast, it can be very specific. That the advertising inventory can be purchased, very similar to internet inventory. You can buy it on a CPM basis, buying just the impressions that you want. Floating throughout the day, when the box lights up, the impression gets dropped. And finally, I believe that it will become a more competitive medium as more and more of this scales over time.
So clearly a lot of interplay between digital or online attributes and what the future of addressable television will look like. For the 4A's, 3 benchmarks that we're looking at to really sort of document best practices within digital that are transferable to the addressable TV marketplace sometime in the summer. Next year, we hope to have lots more experimentation in addressable TV advertising so that we can begin to really document best practice in addressable TV. And then finally, sometime next year, we'll begin to connect the dots between both digital and addressable TV advertising. Wanted to sort of visualize the idea of what can happen with addressable and when you can create interactive layers on top of it. So the future is bright. It needs imagination and some careful thinking about how to execute against our potential in addressable. And we look forward to reporting back to you in a year's time. Thank you.